The final MCU Phase 4 project is out, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, a powerfully sad and beautiful film about loss that was dedicated to the late great Chadwick Boseman. As all Marvel films do, the movie deals with heroes, villains, and everything in between. So we ask the usual question, how do these characters stack up on the morality spectrum? Hey guys, I'm Brad with Wicked Binge, and this is Black Panther and Wakanda Forever, Good to Evil. We're going to be talking about both films, although we'll be focusing on the new film as much as possible. Also, a massive spoiler warning, as we're going to be talking about important plot points in the entirety of the film, along with the wider MCU as a whole. First, it's the best of the best. Here are the good. For the gold medal of good, we're going to give it to T'Challa, aka Black Panther. T'Challa was the king of Wakanda, starting with his first appearance in Captain America's Civil War. Due to the tragic death of his actor, Chadwick Boseman, T'Challa was retired from the MCU. T'Challa has a pretty major role in the film, despite it being mostly posthumous, as most of the movie focuses on the grief that Wakanda felt with his passing. In his appearances prior to the movie, T'Challa was a man of honor and cared deeply for his people and those around him, even if they weren't Wakandan.
Our weapons will not be used to wage war on the world.
T'Challa did have flashes of anger and misjudgment, such as the attempted murder of Bucky for a murder he didn't commit. However, as it stands, T'Challa always sought to do the right thing when he could, such as opening up Wakanda and his resources prior to his death, or hiding Vision and the Avengers in Wakanda during Infinity War. T'Challa is a perfect example of doing the right thing no matter what, even if it may not have been the best option at the time. The silver medal of good goes to Queen Ramonda. Ramonda is the queen of Wakanda after the tragic death of her son T'Challa. She became much harsher as her care for her family becomes more like overprotection. Ramonda ruled well and used her power to keep Wakanda a royal and world power. In fact, she even seeks peace with the UN she despises, despite their constant attempts at attacking her and her country for its resources. She tries her best to make peace with Namor when he first appears. However, after the kidnapping of Shyr, she finds that it's not only unlikely, but the wrong choice for them to help each other. Ramonda does everything in her power to make sure that her kingdom and her son's legacy are protected. She dies at the end because she sacrifices herself to save Riri from Namor's attack. Ramonda may have had a feisty streak and was a bit more brutal than T'Challa was, but she's by far one of the best people on our list. The bronze medal goes to General Okoye. Okoye is the head general of the Dora Milaje and an important part of the film. She's among the many Dora members who help protect Wakanda, and ever since her first appearance, she's been a massive help to T'Challa and Wakanda. Like the rest, she tries to keep Wakanda isolated due to how the country has been run for centuries. In fact, Okoye, as of the second movie, has proven to be a great hero, still doing everything she can for her country, even raising a spear at her husband to protect it. Okoye gets removed from the Dora Milaje during the film due to Shuri's kidnapping. She helps extract Riri and defeat the American forces coming to kidnap her. Okoye fails in this film, and it means she's left behind at the beginning. However, after the death of Queen Ramonda, Shuri does invite her to become a protector of Wakanda in a new way. She becomes one of the two Midnight Angels that Shuri creates. She breaks American laws by breaking Everett Ross out of the prison transport, but that was the right thing to do in that situation. Okoye is a good person, and she deserves her spot here. Next is Everett Ross. Ross is a member of the United States CIA and an ally to Wakanda. He became the one member of the United States who could help in the affairs of Wakanda easily, and he doesn't take that role lightly. Ross also gave Shuri and Okoye the information on Riri's location. Despite it being illegal, Ross puts everything on the line so he can help the Wakandans. He even almost goes to prison and becomes safe within the borders of Wakanda. Ross may be a traitor to the United States, however, he did it for good reasons and did save the life of both Riri and Shuri on a few occasions. Ross is a good guy at heart. Rounding out the section is Riri Williams, aka Ironheart. Riri is a child prodigy who goes to MIT, and her intelligence is enough to get her into serious trouble, as she was able to create things that were deemed impossible. She created the vibranium detector that was used by the government that ended up with Namor and the Talokan. She's then hunted by both the Talokan and the United States government. She does some illegal things, like creating her first Ironheart suit and running her homework business, which might be seen as illegal as well. Riri helps in the final fight, even saving the life of many Wakandans. Riri tries her best to be a good person despite everything being against her. Now it's time to go down to the middle section. This is the gray area. Starting off the section is another Dora Milaje member, Aneka. Aneka Aneka serves as one of the higher-ranking members of the Dora Milaje and one of the two Midnight Angels made by Shyr, much like in the comics. Aneka is among the members of the Dora Milaje who stops the French mercenaries from stealing the vibranium. She's also the member who helped Shyr try and attack Namor during his initial invasion. Aneka is really smart and is one of the few members who's willing to accept Shuri's newer ideas. Aneka, much like the other members, cares deeply about her country and will do anything for it. However, she is sort of insubordinate and will deny orders if necessary, which is both good and bad. Next is Nakia. Nakia is an international spy, high-ranking Wakandan and the girlfriend of the since-passed T'Challa. She uses her abilities to sneak into secure areas and utilize information to do what needs to be done. This includes pretending to be an exchange student to get more info on Namor. Nakia's main problem was that she sort of hid in Haiti with Toussaint when she learned that T'Challa was dying. Sure, it's implied this was T'Challa's idea, but she decidedly stayed there and left Wakanda behind for far too long. However, she comes back to Wakanda and helps save Shyr from Namor, even though it did end up starting a war. Nakia is a good person for the most part, but leaving Wakanda in the throes of grief is not great for her or her country. Next is M'Baku. M'Baku is the elder and leader of the Jabari tribe, a set of Wakandans who worship the ape god Hanuman instead of the panther god Bast. In the first film, he was played more as a villain, someone who wanted to leech the throne from T'Challa and become the ruler of Wakanda. Despite this, he saves the king's life and helps fight against Killmonger.
Witness the might of the Jabari!
M'Baku respects power and knows that T'Challa was worthy of his respect during their fight. Since then, T'Challa made him a part of the elders who make decisions, and as such, he became a much more important part of Wakanda. M'Baku's appearance in the second film reinforces his place as a high-ranking elder who enjoys his position, but also knows that it's important that the kingdom be run the right way. He helps fight Namor and tries to help Shyr through her grief even though it was futile. M'Baku even prepares to die for his kingdom and his country when fighting Namor and his goons. M'Baku is a good guy, but his villainous streak and occasional threats make it hard for him to be put any higher. Rounding out the gray area, we have Shyr, aka Black Panther. Shyr is a princess of Wakanda and eventually the leader of the country in the war with Talokan. Sure, she never technically gets referred to as queen, but it's heavily implied she will be. Regardless, this genius is behind all the tech, whether it be Kimoyo beads or the AI, voiced by Trevor Noah. By the middle point of the film, she had synthesized a synthetic heart-shaped herb that is able to give her the powers of Black Panther. She tries her best to save Riri and even tries to broker peace with Namor prior to their eventual fight. What drags her down is her reaction to the grief she's feeling. While the grief itself is normal, she reacts in a negative way, saying she will burn the whole world and everyone in it. And this, of course, leads to her trip to the ancestral plane, where we meet Killmonger once more. Shuri's anger gets the best of her, and she nearly slaughters Namor. However, by the end, she found that the best option was to broker peace, which she ends up doing. Shuri only falls this low because she fell to her trauma and grief. Now we go to the worst of the worst. We now have the bad to evil. Starting off the section, we have Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Valentina is a high-ranking government official, specifically being the head of the CIA and the ex-wife of Everett Ross. She's a recurring villain, first popping up in Black Widow and later in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. In both, she's known to be a person who cares only about her own status and the team she's building. We know with foresight that Valentina will be heading up or at least form the Thunderbolts, but as it stands now, she definitely earns her villain spot. She bugs Shuri's Kimoyo beads and uses them to spy on Ross, and while he was committing treason, she was still doing it mostly for a villainous end. It's implied that she wants to steal all the vibranium from Wakanda and the ocean and use it for weapons of mass destruction and other weaponry that only the United States could use. She is a schemer who pretends to be better than she is because she's willing to lie to anyone if it means she gets what she wants. Valentina is a villain, but as of now, she has no blood in her hands, so she can't rank any lower. Next is Attuma. Attuma seems to be one of the two generals of Namor's army, and he acts as lower than Namora but higher than the foot soldiers. Attuma is amongst the soldiers who tried to kidnap and kill Riri Williams, even nearly killing Okoye in the process. However, much like M'Baku, he respects the power that Okoye has and lets her live. Despite this, he does seem to enjoy the murder of land dwellers. Sadly, he doesn't have a lot to talk about as most of his actions are done on the orders of Namor or Namora, and he seems to have little care outside of said orders. The Bronze Medal of Evil goes to Namora. Namora, like Attuma, seems to be one of Namor's generals. However, she seems to outrank Attuma and has more agency over decisions. She orders the death of Okoye, even though it doesn't happen, and is the one at the end of the film who questions Namor's motives. She spends most of her time on screen battling and fighting, which shows what kind of person she is. She, however, is also very smart, as she destroyed the thruster at the bottom of the warship to stop the Wakandans from escaping. The silver medal of evil goes to Njidaka, aka Eric Killmonger Stevens. Eric is the son of Prince Ninjobu and a military hero to some degree, earning the nickname Killmonger. He considers himself a member of the Lost Tribe, as he considers all black people outside of Wakanda. He makes a claim for the throne and nearly kills T'Challa, quickly ascending to king, where he rules with an iron fist.
The world's gonna start over, and this time we're on top.
He subsequently incinerates all the heart-shaped herb, stopping anyone else from becoming the Black Panther. What he wanted to do was open Wakanda up and use its resources to help all disenfranchised black people across the world, which is a noble goal. However, he goes about it in the wrong way, as he attempts to do it via force and murder, which makes him very similar to the people who wronged him and his people. He reappears in Wakanda Forever, where he pops up as the ancestor that Shuri gets in the ancestral plane. He tries to convince her that war is the best option and that she needs to get business done because T'Challa was too noble and T'Chaka was a hypocrite. Killmonger is a bad guy with some noble ideas, but the consequences of his actions would be more harmful than any benefits. Grabbing the gold medal of evil goes to Namor, aka Kukulkan. Namor is the first mutant, born from the use of the blue vibranium flower, where he became the avatar of the god Kukulkan and the king of Talokan. Namor appears during Ramonda and Shuri's morning session and attempts to broker a peace. Initially, he wants peace because of the similarity of vibranium the two countries hold. However, his real plan is to eradicate the entire planet because the surface world had wronged him. However, he's sort of justified in his hatred because of the brutal things he witnessed when the conquistadors attacked his mother's homeland. But he takes it out on everyone, showing that he's unable to separate them. Namor is a bad guy with a tragic story, but by the end of the film, he hasn't given up his plans of genocide, and he's responsible for the death of Queen Ramonda, hence his ranking here. Alright, that's it. Let us know in the comments section if you agree with our ranking. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite cartoons, shows, and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.